everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sideline Banter. I am Sam Holt. I messed that up. I'm literally just trying to watch the Dodger game and trying to do a show at the same time. It's not going well, guys. Welcome to another episode of Sideline Banter. I am Sam Holt. This is Derek Tate. And thankfully, Women of Fantasy Football hasn't kicked us off despite my terrible intros at different times this season. Tate, how are you?
It's spooky season, and apparently you got spooked on that intro there a little bit. You may have saw a ghost.
No, like all of a sudden, like my voice just like went, and I was like, what? I just got like, it's fine. It's week 9. I might as well come into this episode injured because everybody else is. So that's how we're gonna segue into all of this. I am pretty devastated about Skattebo's injury, and I'm still not over it because I have too many shares of him, Tate. I know we're going to talk a lot about Tyrone Tracy going into this week. There's a lot of, top name waivers, but just have a therapy session with me really quick. There's going to be brighter days ahead, right? Or is this just like one of those moments where it is what it is and we just have to move on?
Well, fantasy football has a way of having you already have the next man up approach. It's tough though when you're like emotionally invested in a player and it's one you hit on, right? Like you probably got Scat in round 9, round 10, something like that in your redrafts, and he popped and he's a fun player to watch. So you're emotionally attached to him and it's all gone in the blink of an eye. Seriously though, no jokes aside, that looked like a pretty rough injury. Hope for nothing but a speedy recovery for our boy Cam Skattebo.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see anyone get hurt that way, but I mean, he was just on such a tear as well. So it was really exciting to see what the rest of his season was going to look like, just given the system they had. He had such a flow going with Dart. It was just a brutal way for his season to end. But we've got lots and lots of football to talk about. So guys, if you have any waiver wire questions or trade questions, because a lot of people are approaching trade deadlines in different leagues, please get them in the chat. Tate and I will do our best to answer them as quickly as we see them pop into the chat. So first I want to talk a little bit about Monday Night Football. Quick recap. The Chiefs absolutely destroyed the Commanders. It was a pretty brutal loss for them, but I think that this was just a really next level showing for multiple pass catchers for the Chiefs. And I feel like Kareem Hunt had it out for me because he was one player I went against and I had a lead going into this game. And it was like he didn't want to see me win my week, which felt personal and I feel attacked.
So first off, I apologize if you had to face off against Kareem Hunt because, 2 tutties will do that to you from a guy that is normally just barely in flex consideration every week.
One rushing, one receiving. What the hell?
I actually want to give it a positive spin for the Commanders. I thought they battled. Like, I really, truly thought that this may get ugly very quickly. And this was still a game at halftime. And then the offense, Kansas City didn't shoot themselves in the foot when they got into plus territory in the second half. And we saw that, Patrick Mahomes and this offense with Rashee Rice back in the fold, Xavier Worthy back in the fold, they're going to be a problem, Sam. In particular, if you cannot generate a pass rush, Mahomes has got enough weapons now that he's going to make you pay on the back end.
I feel like there's different parts last couple of years where we've questioned the Chiefs offense. And, okay, is this going to be the year that they drop off? Like they'll have a stint of games where they just don't look like themselves. And this year they started off the year early with several of those. And it was like as soon as Rice came in, the lights just came on, and it's just a remembering of who they are, how many weapons they have available. And when everyone's on the field, how do defenses try to eliminate any and all of them? And the answer is you can't, because someone's always going to end up being open.
Well, what you really see, at least from, a scheme perspective, is now you hit the one deep shot down the sideline to Xavier Worthy, I think on the first drive of the game, correct? So you have that vertical stretch, Sam. But then what they really want to do is this a West Coast style offense. They want to get the ball out quickly and give you that horizontal stretch. Rashee Rice, still a yak monster, and that's how you come up with 8 or 9 receptions for 99 yards and a score. Death by 1,000 cuts. He's a great weapon in that offensive scheme. And then, of course, if you're going to run zone coverage, I think that that's the one way Travis Kelce can really still hurt you in 2025. He had a monster night on tight ends week. Real quick story, though. You mentioned something about Kareem Hunt, being an Achilles heel for you.
Yeah.
Samuel, I have won one league by 0.014 points in
Wow.
a PPR, and I was playing against Deebo Samuel. So that one dropped pass that turned into an interception turned out to be the difference. So,
well, this is why we love the game, isn't it? Because the game is won and lost on these tiny little things, or by multiple touchdowns, and you're just completely defeated. I love this comment here from Wendy, our good friend Wendy Yearly. They still don't have a great run game though, but who needs it? I mean, when, like you said, they've got so many people available to stretch the field and be open in different ways. It was Rashee Rice had 9 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. It was Travis Kelce that had the 99 yards, 6 receptions and a touchdown. But I mean, again, 2 pass catchers with over 90 receiving yards. That just sounds like a pretty standard move for the Chiefs, especially when they start to come in hot.
I agree with Wendy that the running game is something that I don't think is going to be a strength of Kansas City this year. I think we've already seen that with their collection of backs. But like you said, kind of who needs it when Patrick Mahomes is playing at this level? It almost feels as if this is like a mini revenge tour for anybody that was doubting Patrick Mahomes still being an elite fantasy option after the last 2 seasons. And yeah, this offense looks right, which is really scary for the rest of the NFL.
It does look really scary. It's definitely giving, Tom Brady with the Patriots, never count them out kind of situation. As soon as any hate or, downcasting goes their way, it's like they smell it and then they completely do the exact opposite. So I just feel like those that maybe waited and got Travis Kelce later, or they're very happy with him because obviously tight ends have been very divisive this season. So I feel like continued upside for him rest of the season. I don't know if I'm going to put him he could probably end up top 10 by the end of the season. But I wouldn't go so far as to say top 5, because I feel like we've got a couple other tight ends we want to talk about later in the show that have that potential. Although, of course, as soon as I say, no, he's not a top 10, he's going to have another several weeks that are putting him in the top 5, and I'm going to be completely wrong there. So, but that's just because that's how the Chiefs like to act. I want to talk about the different playmakers for the Commanders, though, because with Jaden Daniels not there, this team, to me, definitely struggled. Obviously, McLaurin ended up with the lone touchdown, only 3 receptions, and Bill Krosky-Merritt, another back that we're talking about in terms of running game struggling, only 9 carries for 25 yards, 0 catches. It's just hard to see how this team can get going without Jaden there.
Well, it works with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt having this crazy high efficiency when you have a dynamic rushing threat like Jaden Daniels under center. Now, I actually thought Mariota contributed with his legs last night, Sam. I actually thought that he gave them a little bit of something in the zone read game. So again, hat tip to Mariota, who that's not an easy task to go to Arrowhead and try to do something against that defense. I think that we've clearly found out, Sam, that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is going to be a high volume, touchdown dependent option that can be a victim to game script. And he's far more likely to be facing a negative game script while Jaden Daniels is not in the lineup. So I kind of drop him into that flex range right now. And you're looking at him going up against Seattle and Detroit in the next 2 games. Are we confident that he's going to face a negative or a positive game script in either of those contests? I don't. So the next 2 weeks in particular are a little bit worrisome, but I think they get back on track, and I like him again when he's up against Miami, when they should be playing with a lead, and he's probably likely to see north of 10 carries in those type of contests.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard too, because we just came out of Bimageddon, and I want to have some level of positivity for our viewers and listeners in terms of trying to find other people to play. And I would love to be walking away from this game, at least with Krosky-Merritt, you could feel confident throwing him as an RB2, for example. But I agree with you. He does drop to flex standing for me, and it really depends on my other options that I have available in terms of feeling confident starting him. We are not in Bye-Mageddon, but there are 4 teams on a bye. We've got the Browns, Jets, Eagles, and Bucks all on a bye, and that's going to play into a big factor in us discussing the waivers as we come up here. But let's first talk about, again, we started off talking about Cam Skattebo's injury. There's still a couple other injuries to mention. Luther Burden for the Bears had a concussion. Quinshon Judkins for the Browns is dealing with a shoulder injury. We've also got Saquon Barkley. Again, he's on a bye this week dealing with a groin injury. And according to him, he's not too worried about it, but I'm very worried about Saquon Barkley, I feel like, on a daily basis. So I feel like, I mean, I want to see him playing, but I'm happy that he has a bye week after getting hurt so he can feel like he gets right to the next week.
Petty parlays, that was a big hit. Like 100. He had a great rushing performance. First game over 100 yards, 1 rushing score, passing score, and then he's dealing with a soft tissue issue. But hey, the bye week for the Eagles comes at a perfect time, which means we don't have to worry about Saquon, because we weren't going to have to worry about Saquon in week number 9 anyway. So I'm encouraged by what I saw from Saquon Barkley in week 8.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm encouraged by his usage, and I do think that the rest of the season is going to be better for him. I do feel like I really prefer these mid-season bye weeks for a lot of reasons, and injuries like this are definitely one of them. I hate the early bye weeks and hate that my Steelers had such an early one, because we could definitely use a break right now. But that's just the way it goes for a lot of these teams. I want to get to next section, which is just gonna be some added and benched players that we need to talk about. But I'm sure that everyone else is tuning in for World Series. Dodgers are now down 4-1 to the Blue Jays in the 7th. So it's a little bit brutal. Just saw that.
Are they pitching to Shohei Ohtani today?
It was pretty hilarious how they refused to. I haven't seen him up yet, but I feel like they're probably going to start walking him as well. Yeah, it's interesting too, because LA is insanely hot right now, so apparently that's just going to equal a lot more home runs for these players. But Gator, appreciate you joining us while watching. Gator is rooting for the Jays. They have to win this in order to keep it competitive. Dodgers fan would like them not to, so we can just keep moving. It's really funny how little work gets done at my main job when it's Dodgers World Series, and how quickly everyone leaves the office as well. But that's just the nature of the beast.
Well, you're over there on the West Coast. Timing is all kinds of weird when it comes to sporting events over there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's way worse for the East Coast, because that 18 innings last night, I mean, last night I was up till midnight watching the end of this game because it went 18 innings, but everyone else on the East Coast, if they were watching it, was staying up extremely late. So I feel worse for you guys.
You know, okay, that's fine. If you want to feel some sympathy for us, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. I mean, you do get football at 10 a.m. I'm a little bit jealous about that. I hate having to wait. But you also don't, when you guys get the London game, you're probably not catching that one, Sam?
No. So I do love my breakfast football. The 10 a.m. breakfast football is great. The London games are brutal. They tend to be, I sleep with my laptop next to me. I open it, I check the score, and then I fall back asleep. So it's pretty brutal. But yeah. Anyways, let's get back to football. I know. No. I think I started that with going off the rails talking about the Dodgers anyway, so my bad. Want to talk about some ads and benched players. All right. First, let's talk about the Saints. Spencer Rattler was benched this weekend for Tyler Shough in the 3rd quarter, and their loss to your Buccaneers. But it looks like he's going to officially get the starting job. How do we feel this is going to affect the rest of the offense for the Saints? Can this be anywhere? Like, it can't get worse, right? It has to get a tiny bit better. Asking for all of my Olave shares.
I will say that I don't think that Rattler played absolutely awful when he was under center this year. Like, there were multiple 200+ yard performances through the air. They weren't playing winning football and all that, but you know, Rattler wasn't terrible as far as distributing the ball. Chris Olave has still had great target share numbers throughout the year. And I think that it was like 7 straight games to start the season where Rashid Shaheed had 4 receptions every single contest. Yeah. So I'm not as worried about those top two options. Again, Tyler Shough is somebody who does most of his damage by getting the ball out of his hands, winning in the pre-snap process. So I'm not that concerned as far as their value in fantasy taking a big, hit. It's actually the usage of Alvin Kamara that is just making me scratch my head. There is absolutely no pass catching floor anymore for him, which is what has driven his fantasy value. And now in a pretty rough offense with a rookie under center, yikes.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. I think that it felt like, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of how I'm reading the tea leaves on this, but it seemed like they were looking to maybe move from Chimere and, get some run for Kendre Miller, who's now on IR, but that didn't seem to work out for them because it did say like Chimere was like, I am very happy in New Orleans. I have no interest in leaving. So not sure.
If he got traded, I'm going to go drink some pina colada somewhere, Sam. That's almost like, hey, I'm going to go retire if I'm not going to be a saint.
If I'm not going to be a saint, I'm just like leaving. So not really trade value here.
I mean, imagine if you got traded. I mean, would you not go like, oh, all right, well, I'm going to go have a drink at a bar somewhere. And then, I guess I'll report to work with my new team in a couple days.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably be my move. Well, it depends on where I got traded to, I guess. But
I prefer the Miami Vice over the pina colada, by the way.
What's the Miami Vice?
Argument for another day. I think it's like half pina colada, half strawberry daiquiri.
Oh, you like to drink a lot of sugar. Like that's way too much sugar for me.
I used to back in my cruise days. Don't judge.
So much judgment. My face was just like, ew. That's just like drinking straight sugar. Like
I burned off calories by just eating back then. So that's no longer the case.
That's not science. You can't burn calories by eating.
Metabolism, Sam. It works in funny ways in my brain. There's a reason why you competed in fitness competitions and I did not. So
I was like, that math is not mathing for me. My God. Let's jump to this question from Mark, since we haven't had a ton of questions in the chat. I want to make sure that we get to all of them. Guys, if you have any trade questions or waiver questions, please throw them in the chat. Tate and I are on one today in terms of going off the rails. So keep us focused. All right, this one from Mark. Happy Tuesday. Week 9 already. Purdy or Lawrence this week. Lawrence has a pretty juicy matchup. If he doesn't do it this week, then when?
Are we going to ask ourselves that question about Trevor Lawrence every week?
Every day, all the time.
Trevor Lawrence. Again, I'm worried about Brock Purdy's toe being an issue throughout the whole daggum season. So
we're worried about every single Niners player ending up with some level of questionable, doubtful, some little red letter next to their name at any given time.
Yeah, except for Christian McCaffrey, who
knock on something. Don't jinx it. Don't put it in the universe.
I find it ironic that he appeared on the week 1 injury report with a calf injury in his. Okay, all right. Let's not put it in. Your answer to your question is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see.
No further thoughts on Trevor Lawrence?
No, I just paused to click over. No, I like he has a really good matchup with the Raiders. And I think that despite playing away in Vegas, I feel like if they're going to show up, this is a good weekend for them to do it. So we're also dealing with, we talk about we're not living in Bimageddon, but we're dealing without several top quarterbacks. So you're missing Hurts, you're missing Mayfield. Fields has now become relevant again, and so you can't start him either. So looking at quarterbacks that have really healthy matchups, trying to get them started this week.
We have a comment in the comment section about Trevor Lawrence and being called mid.
Yeah, LQ.
He is legitimately the QB 16 on the season. That is about as mid as it gets, Sam. So
yeah, that's exactly mid.
That's right in the middle.
It's right in the middle.
Bullseye.
Exactly in the middle. Oh, poor Trevor. I want better.
Yeah, no. Great hair. Top 5 fantasy hair at the quarterback position, but
I would say top 3 fantasy hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, performance-wise, though, not so much.
Mid.
Yeah, definitely a bit mid. Look, if the one thing that I can say about Trevor Lawrence's outlook this week if they can't get that rushing game going, Sam, like it started off red hot with Travis Etienne having, multiple 100-yard performances, I think, within the first month of the season. It looked great. And then all of a sudden the efficiency dropped off. It looks like they're just not able to physically impose their will. They're going to have to rely on Trevor Lawrence. Encouraging signs from Travis Hunter in the passing game. Hopefully we continue to see that type of involvement, and maybe a healthier / non-seeing ghost Brian Thomas version hopefully raises the floor this week for Brian Thomas or for Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, we definitely want to see some more upside. I mean, I was really encouraged to see Travis Hunter's numbers go up recently. Brian Thomas still listed as questionable going into this week. So for my Travis Hunter shares, I wouldn't be mad if he stayed out, because those that are starting him don't feel great about starting him anyways. By saying him, I mean Brian Thomas Jr. But yeah, I also feel like the Jags have realized, in order to get wins this year, in order to figure it out, they need to keep Travis Hunter on offense, just because Brian Thomas Jr. isn't enough to get it done.
I just want to see him on the field more often in those 2 passing receiver sets. I think he slots really nicely into the slot, no pun intended. I just want to see them continue to give him work, even if it's in manufactured touches. He is dynamic with the ball in his hands as a yak threat, and they just haven't made it a concerted enough effort to get him more involved in the screen game. And Liam Cohen, even dating back to his days in Tampa Bay, big screen proponent, type of schematic genius when it comes to that. So I want to see him utilize Travis Hunter in manufactured touches and then get him some second level looks. Guy's an absolute ball hawk at the point of attack. So hopefully we see an expanded role. I also thought it was weird, Diana Rossini of The Athletic saying that Brian Thomas Jr., the Jags were like taking trade calls on him. Kind of weird. Want to monitor that, but still like Trevor Lawrence for this week.
I mean, we are approaching the NFL trade deadline as well, and it's going to be interesting to see who moves around.
But Brian Thomas? Really?
I mean, David Njoku in the news for possible trades as well out of Cleveland, which, I mean, given how Fannon's performed, makes a lot of sense. Right. And the Browns like to make weird moves anyways, so I wouldn't be shocked by any trades that they make. But Njoku's, I feel like, such an incredible talent, so I'd be really curious to see where he ends up. Can't think of a team off the top of my head that doesn't already have a tight end that's phenomenal, that's been producing consistently. But at the same time, hey, you know what? My Steelers keep adding random tight ends. Maybe they would just say, screw it, and would just add another tight end. Who knows? Then speaking of
maybe
Steelers,
maybe the Browns will once again trade within the division, and
maybe they will.
We don't have to hear about it from Mike Tomlin.
No, but speaking of that, the Steelers did add Marquez Valdez-Scantling to our receiver room because, why wouldn't we? When we're struggling, I should turn the logo behind me upside down, kind of like to show that the ship is in distress.
What do you think about those Bumblebee uniforms, by the way?
No, okay. Quickly about my Steelers. The atrocious throwback jerseys. As a graphic designer, as an artist, I can't stand bad design to begin with, but then when it's thrust upon me with my team, it is even more upsetting. So I even posted it on X this weekend. I did my own redesign of a vintage jersey to make it modern. There's so many things that need to be changed in order to make a vintage jersey with these colors work. And guys, if anyone from the Steelers wants to talk to me, I'm very excited. I would be so excited to change this and make it actually good, because there's so many good throwback jerseys. Your Bucks have an amazing throwback jersey. Thanks. And I love the creamsicle jersey is one of my favorites. I think it's such a good look. It's so clean. Even the Chargers doing their dark blues, that looks really good too. There's so many teams doing it right. Why do we always do it wrong?
I always thought the Buccaneers logo used to look like my dad because he had like this mustache that made no sense in the early 90s. as a kid, I always thought that. So I'm all a fan of the old logo, the old color scheme for the old Buccaneers. Anyway, we have a couple questions.
Yeah, let's get back to it. Sorry. This is
Yeah.
a really, I think it's because, you know what? I know why that we're so off the rails. The Dodgers are now down 6-1. So there's a lot of weird energy happening in the atmosphere. It's also
I
like
keep
90
hitting you
degrees
with
in
random
California.
questions. I'm sorry. It's my fault,
No,
everybody.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. This hopefully this is why people tune in, because we're random and we like to have fun. All right. This one is Isaiah Davis worth a #1 waiver pick.
Obviously, context matters, but I do believe he is a very, very intriguing stash. He's high up on my board, even though the Jets are facing a bye week this week, which means their offense has a chance not to look terrible. But Breece Hall is a name, Sam, speaking of trades, at the trade deadline. That is a popular one. And he just had his best performance of the entire season. It's probably going to be one of the best fantasy performances of his entire NFL career this week, right at the approaching the NFL trade deadline. So I'm thinking there could be a chance that they deal Breece Hall ahead of, basically his contract expiring at the end of his rookie deal. And if that's the case, Braylon Allen, still probably going to be working through that injury that he suffered to his knee earlier in the season.
Yep.
And Isaiah Davis continues to have encouraging usage numbers, Sam, as far as efficiency goes. And we've seen his role expand since Braylon Allen went down with an injury. So yes, I do think he is high up on my list. I don't know if he's #1, but he's certainly worth somebody that I'm willing to stash even on heading into a bye week.
It's definitely one of those things where, given the news and the reports and where there's smoke, there's fire. If there is going to be some level of a move, I do agree. I agree. I feel like he warrants a waiver ad. #1 priority depends on your other needs and your bench depth. If you've got a bench where you're obviously we're dealing with a couple other teams on a bye. He is on a bye this week. So if you were to make an ad to grab him, you're doing this for a future, which makes sense. But I do agree, if Breece Hall's gone, Isaiah Davis is a must own.
I've been covering the New York Jets for heavy.com throughout this entire offseason, and his name has come up consistently this offseason, then in the preseason, then now in the regular season. Like, there certainly feels like there's a little bit of fire where there's smoke here, Sam, and I would not be shocked whatsoever if he gets dealt.
Hey, that's even more reason to me to move him up your board. So yes, the answer is yes, absolutely need to be adding him. A couple more questions before we get into more waivers. This one from Fantasy Football Noob: is Kyler Murray worth a pickup?
Of course. I mean, depending on whatever your format is, but yes, I mean, he is somebody who on any given week, he's given you every single game this year over 20 yards rushing. And he's somebody who can easily go over 50 yards and occasionally give you a rushing touchdown. Yes, the passing has been very, very, very frustrating and inconsistent in his connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. But yes, to answer your question, yes, he is somebody worth a pickup.
Worth a pickup. Coming off of an injury as well, but to know he was seen in Tuesday's practice as well as throwing passes. So I feel like him starting this week is on the upside and the up and up. They are against the Colts this week, which I think is going to be a tough matchup, but that just means that game script should equal Murray throwing quite a bit. I
thought they were playing against Dallas. Am I incorrect?
No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. You're right. They're playing against Dallas. At Dallas.
Which means, yes, you would start him if you start anybody playing against Dallas.
Yeah. I'm going to blame the energy drink I had an hour ago. All right. But moving on. More questions. Also, Steelers looked like an off-brand bottle of mustard. Yes, they did. They looked like all the jokes. They looked like Charlie Brown wearing his Peanuts t-shirt. He looked like a yield sign that was made with duct tape. Like, they looked terrible. We don't need to keep beating up on my poor Steelers, guys. Terrible. Let's see this one. Aaron Jones is just chilling in waivers in my league. How is he just hanging out? Who has just players like this hanging out in waivers?
Because the Vikings offense is terrible, Sam.
Well, I guess that's true. Because they're bad. Oh my gosh. This one needs some help. Should I trade Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, and Lad McConkey for Egbuka, Keenan Allen, and Devon Achane?
No. Jamar Chase.
Chase, no.
they're force feeding him way too many targets.
Yeah.
Right now to trade him, and he's the best player in the trade. And honestly, I'm seeing like a downtick in usage for Ibuka and Keenan Allen. And again, you're holding out faith that the Miami Dolphins are going to continue to be relevant. No, my answer is no.
I mean, the only way that the offense continues to move forward for the Dolphins is through Achane. So if they continue to have a season that struggles, I would not be shocked if they decide to save him for next year and not continue to just have him take all of these hits, because it doesn't make sense.
But if Tua Tagovailoa, we've already seen him get benched once this year. If I get that they had a surprising performance against the Atlanta Falcons, tip of the hat to Tua. But if he struggles and Mike McDaniel has no other moves to make, then are we really sure that Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson are going to pepper Devon Achane with the same level of check down targets that we've seen from Tua when it comes to throwing the ball to Achane? That's what scares me. And if he doesn't have that pass catching floor in PPR formats, that's where I could see the bottom falling out for Achane.
Yeah. So basically, to answer your question, we're not loving the projected output for what you're looking to trade for. So again, and as part of this, I would much rather have Ja'Marr Chase. We've talked about the possible trade rumors for Breece Hall. Could end up being positive for him depending on where he lands. And Ladd McConkey is also starting to get more consistent again for the Chargers. So for me, I'd rather keep what you already have.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. This one, what would you rather have in Dynasty question? Garrett Wilson or Rome Odunze?
Rome Odunze, without hesitation.
Yeah. Keep, add, love. I mean, in terms of the upside, you've got the keep it brief. Why use many word when few word work? No. I had too much candy today.
Your intro echoes that statement.
Yeah, no, I haven't been drinking. I've just been eating a lot of candy. It's Halloween week, guys. I would much rather have Rome Odunze in Dynasty. In terms of youth and how I like to build my Dynasty rosters, I want lots of upside and growth for the team. I love Ben Johnson with the Bears. There's a lot of things that are working really well. There's a lot of things that need to work out, but there's a lot of potential on both sides. Caleb Williams is, continuing to work through some stuff, but getting better, continuing to feed Rome. He's going to continue to be a feature. You're raising your eyebrows. I'm saying positive things about someone that's struggling. It's fine.
You are being nice to Caleb Williams.
Being nice.
That's
I'm
fine.
being nice.
Continue.
I like him. He is a delightful person. And again, I want upside. There's a lot of question marks now for the Jets. They were benching Justin Fields just a heartbeat ago until they weren't able to have Tyrod start. And then Fields came back and had an amazing week. There's just a lot of questions to me about the future of the Jets.
Course,
by comparison. So that's why for me, I'm also just like, yes, please, Rome Odunze in Dynasty. I like the trajectory. It might not be like this, but it's going up.
I feel like there's similar talents. One clearly has a better situation as far as the offensive infrastructure and quarterback situation, and he's younger. Yeah. So it's like, check. Yeah, for me, it's easy. It's Rome.
Definitely going Rome as well. Did I?
What are you laughing at? What am I like? Because I went check.
No, I laughed at myself. Because I have to. Let's get back to some waivers targets. I mean, we talked about Cam Skattebo. Let's talk about Tyrone Tracy with the Giants. I'm looking at making a trade in a league myself in terms of I just lost Skattebo. I've been on a tear in this league and I want to keep going up. Tracy is someone that was having an amazing run before Cam caught fire because Tracy obviously got hurt. And now that he's back with, of course, Cam being out, it kind of feels like it's not a 1-to-1 swap them in. They are different. However, this is an offense that is getting going and Dart is clearly trying to prove something with this offense. So it's now a piece that I want to make sure I have.
Yeah. When you see that he's clearly the guy now. So and we saw flashes from Tyrone Tracy on an offense that had a revolving door at quarterback and, Daniel Jones in a New York Giants uniform was never anything worth getting excited about. But over 1,000 total yards and 6 total touchdowns, Sam, and last year's New York offense was nothing to scoff at. And he has receiving background during his collegiate days, converted receiver to running back. Yeah, I actually feel if you need a running back, I'm okay with Tyrone Tracy Jr. He's somebody that I loved in the pre-draft process 2 seasons ago. While I hate the Cam Skattebo injury, I am someone that believes in Tyrone Tracy Jr., so I'm excited that he's going to get his opportunity at an expanded role.
Yeah, and then one more Giants running back to talk about as well. Devin Singletary, only 2% rostered. Depending on deep leagues, maybe add him as well, but I think it would really depend on your league structure and who's available in order to grab him. And he would really be more of a bench stash, not like an immediate start for me.
Hard no for that.
Yeah.
Skattebo got hurt, and Devin Singletary saw a total of 2 carries for 0 yards. So,
I mean, he's there again, looking for just like a body. You never know, but he's a body and he's there. Talking about, running backs that were injured, obviously Judkins dealing with a shoulder injury. You've got Jerome Ford for the Browns, 14% rostered, another running back that is available. I think it really just all depends on what you have in order to warrant these ads, because these aren't shining ads. Aside from Tracy, these are not shining, like gleaming must-haves.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dylan Sampson as far as the running back to target in the Cleveland backfield, just because at least in a PPR scheme, he gives you a little bit more of a higher floor in a bad offense. So I would prioritize Sampson if you're going to try to invest in the Cleveland backfield.
Yeah. Someone in the chat, Fantasy Noob. I love to use my number 1 waiver on Tyrone, but someone dropped Kraft decisions. Oh, someone dropped Kraft. He's also a tight end that has been, I know that's weird. I didn't do it. I'm reading what they wrote. It's wild. But yeah, it depends on your starting tight end that you have, but I don't know who's dropping Kraft right now.
Yeah, fantasy football noob. You must be playing with other fantasy football noobs, because no one should be dropping Tucker Kraft right now.
Absolutely not. No, two touchdowns this weekend.
You prioritize Kraft, and you can figure something else out at running back. Go get Kraft if you can.
That is wild. We already talked about Isaiah Davis with your little bit of insider news. Jets must, especially if they move on from Breece Hall.
Sure.
I get so excited about trade deadline because seeing things move around and shuffle the board makes it a lot of fun. Let's talk about a couple receivers available. I mean, I would like to mention something positive for the Dolphins. Malik Washington is available and is only 15% rostered. I don't know that I'm starting any Dolphins like we just talked about in terms of going forward. They did have a better week, I think, because I had the lovely opportunity to jump on Liz Loza's show last week. And when she said, "Who would you like to bench?" I said all of the Dolphins. So they decided to all show up because I said everyone could get benched. So that was lovely. But yeah, I don't know that I'm picking up Malik Washington this week.
I would say Malik Washington if you get yards for return yards, if you get points for return yards, excuse me.
Yeah.
Other than that, it is encouraging that he has seen 13 targets over the last 2 games with 9 receptions and actually scored his first receiving touchdown of the season. So, I mean, maybe if you're super, super desperate in a deep PPR league, then maybe he's worth a stash, but I'm not looking to start him this week against Baltimore.
Yeah, not so much. 2 Raiders receivers to mention, Trey Tucker and Jack Beck. Tucker is rostered in 38% of leagues. I drafted Jack Beck like at the end of several drafts, and I mean, I've just dropped him almost immediately. Trey Tucker, though, has potentially some usage.
I will say if the Raiders do decide to move on from Jacoby Myers, who still wants to be dealt and get off the Raider squad, then and that could happen, then you could see an expanded role for both of these players, and maybe they're both worth a stash. I'm not starting them this week, but I can see the path where maybe they see an expanded role that is sustainable moving forward if Myers is no longer on the roster.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces when it comes to this trade deadline. So this is definitely one of those ones where I like to follow all the beat writers for every NFL team just to like see if any extra news is coming out from them immediately. But this is definitely one of those times where if you want to get fully into the weeds as a fantasy manager, do your homework. Try to be a Derek Tate when you can, to be that nerdy into a team and following for fantasy sports. Look at me giving you a compliment.
I got called nerdy. Thanks.
You're welcome. I know you like it. Let's jump into one of your segments because I have so much fun with them. Fact or fiction. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. How about just kind of real quick?
Sure.
We've talked about Oronde Gadsden. I've, patted myself on the back, didn't pour any milk on myself like we talked about as far as the winner's circle on my victory lap on Gadsden. But he kicked off National Tight End Day weekend with a pretty solid performance, Sam, scoring on the very first drive for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm asking, fact or fiction? Is Oronde Gadsden a top 5 fantasy tight end for the rest of the season?
Top 5 for the rest of the season. So looking at total points for this season and who is sitting at the top right now, Gadsden's sitting in terms of total fantasy points for the season, sitting at tight end 12. Those ahead of him that I could see dropping out of this and by end of season him moving up. I could see Juwan Johnson dropping out as he is sitting immediately ahead. I could see Zach Ertz dropping out. Hunter Henry's on a tear, so it's hard to see him dropping out. But looking at some other names, Jake Ferguson, sneakily the number 1 tight end in fantasy right now in terms of total fantasy points. Top 5? No, because I'm looking at this list, and Ferguson, I can't imagine him coming further down the list than 5. Tucker Kraft, we just talked about, also on a crazy tear. Trey McBride, if the Cardinals have any hope or prayer, they're going to have to continue to feed him as well. Travis Kelce also on one. There's just a couple names that go ahead. So I feel like top 10, absolutely. 5 might be pushing it for me.
Let me go ahead and try to reframe this. And I know that you mentioned what guys could fall out of the top 10. And I understand you're saying top 10, sure, top 5, no. So keep in mind, Oronde Gadsden was a healthy scratch, Sam, for the first 2 weeks of the season. Like, he did not play. And then saw the field against the Denver Broncos, caught 5 passes on 5 targets, and the rest is history. Now he's taken that job. Since week 3, he's the tight end 7 in fantasy football in PPR formats. And 26 targets. I mean, in a crowded offense, and this guy has carved out a role. And in fact, Quentin Johnston has now, his face is on the side of a milk carton, Sam. He didn't see the ball at all against the Minnesota Vikings.
So sad.
Like, I think the 2 main cogs of this offense, passing offense anyway. I mean, you do have, Keenan Allen, who's still a veteran presence, but Gadsden is giving them something as far as a mismatch against linebackers and tight ends, and Justin Herbert clearly trusts him as a check down option. I think he's got top 5. I think he is a top 5 fantasy tight end the rest of the year.
I mean, we could do some sort of side bet in terms of if you're this high on him that he finishes the year top
Every time
5.
I bet against you, I lose.
I know.
No, I want to be right on this take. And as soon as I put my money where my mouth is, I end up wearing a Steelers tank, or my child ends up wearing a Steelers onesie. Like,
it was fun.
I know, Kennedy. But I see Jake Ferguson potentially falling out of the top 5.
Okay. I mean, is that because
same thing with like Dallas Goedert's kind of in that range, but that's been a high touchdown volume. So yeah, I mean, Trey McBride, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, George Kittle, now that he's back in
George Kittle is back as well. So I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with this
Brock
that
Bowers.
I think if he comes back, crying out loud, I need him to come back. And I need him to come back healthy, not just like come back and stand there like he did that one game, which was horrible. Oh my God. It was just like, no, it literally felt like they just put him out there as like a cardboard cutout and was like, go and pretend to be Brock Bowers. And he's like, I can't move. Like, that was awful. I need that to never happen again. No. So to me, there's too many tight ends. It's such a volatile position. I can't say top 5, top 10. Absolutely. Just because his usage is so consistent now. And yes, I'm sorry that Quentin Johnston is now missing in action, but it is what it is. This is just the fantasy football life we lead. So I'm going to say not top 5. that is my long way of answering your question.
I got you. So next question. Is Chase Brown now officially a must-start option at running back again?
I feel like he is. In terms of what Flacco's been able to do to open up this offense, I mean, talk about a guy that is just loves a rebrand. I mean, he loves to just be with a new team. He loves that new locker smell for him. He is just all about something new, fresh faces, and gets excited. Plus, he's now got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And in terms of getting the ball out quickly and efficiently, he is an elite veteran presence that's able to open up the field. And because he's able to open up the field again, it's going to continue to give good usage to Chase Brown. So yes, I do feel like Chase Brown is back to being a must start.
I'm going to side with you on this one strictly because of the improved outlook of this offense generating scoring opportunities with Joe Flacco under center. And the last 3 games, Sam, it's more so the volume it's actually taken a bit of a hit because Samaje Perine, and that's actually the one counter argument against Chase Brown being an auto start. But the yards per carry the last 3 games, 4.6, 9.8, 6.0. Yeah, I have to think, even with Samaje Perine, dipping into that ceiling just a little bit, this offense seems to be scoring enough points at this very moment to make him the best option out of that backfield. And he's still explosive enough and showing signs of life as far as an efficiency lens that makes me a little bit more confident about starting him as my running back too. I wouldn't go as far as to say must start. I do think that if you have some quality depth, I still consider him more of a flex option, actually. I'm going to say more of a flex option than I am just going to say an auto start, if you spent like a 2nd round pick on him in this past fantasy draft.
I mean, I think they have a very friendly schedule as well in terms of what they have coming up and rest of season going towards the fantasy playoffs as well. I feel like it's a decent fantasy schedule. So for me, I feel like he stays must start, depending on what you've had to do in the meantime in order to make moves. Maybe you've picked up some other players as well. I can understand why you're keeping him around the flex spot, but for me, he's definitely back to being a must start. Looking at his utilization at score as well has continued to go up. Check out the utilization report tool that we have over on fantasylife.com. It is pretty awesome. And Dwayne Farland is really incredible in how he manages this and gives so much amazing feedback for this specific reason. You're looking at a utilization score of 72. So definitely continues to go up. When you compare him with Samaje Perine in terms of snap percentage, obviously Brown is leading him there with 62% to 36. To your point and why Perine is a little bit concerning in the short down and distance snaps, he is actually slightly beating Chase Brown with 50% to 47. So there's a couple stats where he's kind of starting to get the edge. 2-minute snaps, so quick drills, he's up in that percent as well in terms of utilization over Brown, 69% to 29. There's just a few little things that I see what you're saying in terms of he's
underlying concerns.
But I mean, he's not completely taken away everything. I think he's still got great usage. And if anything, if Flacco continues to make the rest of this offense work and function well, it could end up being a lot of garbage time touches for Samaje Perine, and Chase Brown gets a lot of the looks to begin the game off. I could end up seeing things splitting out a little bit more.
Okay. So one last question. Speaking about being able to trust somebody in your fantasy lineup.
I don't like trusting.
Chimere Dike, the wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, now someone you can actually trust in your fantasy lineup.
I don't want to trust any Titans on my fantasy. That's a very divisive question that you'd have to ask me there.
That is the correct initial reaction and thought is, do I want to trust any Titans?
I mean, are you going to convince me that I should? Because it doesn't feel right to give that level of trust. I mean, coming off a very good game in terms of he had 8 targets, 7 catches, 93 yards. It's his highest yards for the season against the Colts as well, which I think is impressive. They've got the Chargers this weekend and then a bye. Maybe, but it really depends on the way the rest of my roster is looking. I'm going to throw this comment in the chat from Fantasy Football Noob. I trust my local used car salesman over a Titans player. Yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts and feelings. Feels weird, making my palms sweat. I don't know. I don't like trusting people.
It's a bit uncomfortable.
On the
Yes.
Titans. It's an uncomfy feeling. Yeah. Starting a Titans player with confidence. Uncomfy. No, not living it. But
I mean,
do you have more to convince me why I should?
No, I wouldn't say that I have more.
You're like,
I'll say
no,
this though. It's a young offense, right? And it's obviously a young, struggling number 1 overall pick in an offense that doesn't really have a lot going for it right now.
Yeah.
But DK has made the most of his expanded role in consecutive weeks. In week 7, he scored the touchdown against New England Patriots, caught all 4 of his passes, 70 yards and a score, right? He did that on just 57% of the offensive snaps. Sam, that jumped all the way to 89% last week. And he caught 7 of his 8 targets for 93 yards. And I get that the Indianapolis Colts are dealing with some injuries at the cornerback position. And their offense is so great right now, which is such a weird thing to say about a Daniel Jones-led offense, but it's forcing opposing offenses into these pass-heavy scripts, right? So
Sure.
I don't know if I trust him yet. I'm going to say no. But if we see another week like this, Sam, against the Los Angeles Chargers, where again, the Tennessee Titans are probably going to be facing a profoundly negative game script from the jump. I'd say I need to see it one more week before I start considering him, like a top 30 option at receiver.
I agree. I want to see it one more week, but then they're on a bye. So see it one more week. You might be able to get away with waiting to add him if he's still sitting there.
Then pour water on the fire.
Yeah. Cooling off. I also just feel like the way that you were just shaping that up was trying to say well, he ate all his vegetables, so now you can trust him. And so it's like he's getting his use. He did the things. It's like, okay, but I need consistency. In order
You're
to
not
feel
going to get that
a bit
from
more
Tennessee.
confident. No, and I would love to see another game where he has significant usage, and then maybe I could be convinced. But again, then they're going on a bye, so it's like I'd love to see it another week on a bye. The following week, I mean, maybe I go out and make sure that he's rostered. Maybe he doesn't get a start next week, but I don't know. I need to see more as well.
Another return yards guy. I mean, it's never a good stat for your team when you are returning 7 kicks in one game. So it's 7 kickoff returns for 175 yards for those of you that play in leagues where you have points for return yards.
Those sound like fun leagues. I need to add that rule to my league. All right,
That
Tate,
makes
I want to get to
and Malik Washington cheat codes.
It does. Tate, it's time for one of my favorite things that we do on this show, which is your petty parlays. And I'm excited. I looked at the notes. You don't always throw them in the notes, and sometimes I get them by surprise. But these 3 look like fun, and I can't wait to jump in. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, it's time for the Tater parlay of the day, kids. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3-leg parlay. Sam, first we're going to the NFC North division.
Alrighty.
Detroit Lions taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And hey, Sam, I know we didn't talk about this, but isn't it a little bit weird that Carson Wentz was rolled out there as basically a sacrifice to ensure that
poor man
JJ McCarthy and Max Brosmer did not get put in the game before they were ready to face an NFL defense? And then, Carson Wentz comes out that he's playing with like a messed up shoulder. Now he needs surgery. Kind of weird, isn't it?
That was horrible in terms of keeping players safe and keeping them safe from themselves, and also making sure that everything's in best interest. there was a lot of question marks for me with how they treated poor Carson Wentz. But you have a parlay in the mix here, and I'm seeing some revenge with this game, given it's Lions Vikings.
Yeah, once upon a time in the land of the Motor City, there was a tight end by the name of TJ Hawkinson that
I know him.
We do.
I understand
Unfortunately,
the
a lot
reference.
of fantasy managers don't know him in their starting lineup because he's the tight end 22 on the season because they have not been able to find an answer under center at quarterback the entire season. Even when he does score a touchdown, it seems to not survive the review process of catching the ball and it potentially touching the ground. Anyway, I digress. But look, the Detroit Lions offense, Sam, we have no questions about them. We do have questions about this defense after they just got torched by the Los Angeles Chargers, which basically, in other words, means that the Detroit Lions are probably going to put up some points against the Minnesota Vikings, which means whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Max Brosmer or whoever's under center for Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, they're going to have to throw the ball to be able to keep up with the Lions in this game if they want to stay competitive. I'm going to say, with T.J. Hawkinson returning to the Motor City, 1 touchdown, let's get him involved. It's like almost like a petty parlay for TJ Hawkinson.
Okay. Yeah, I can track that.
A pity parlay. Great. Now I've just coined a new term.
Petty parlay. It's a pity party of a parlay is what it is.
I'm not wearing a hat and I don't have one. What is it called? Like a streamer where you blow it out? Like, anyway,
yeah.
The kids love, use the entire bag that I buy, and they say, sorry, Daddy, I poked a hole in it. Anyway, moving on.
That's your second one. This is another good matchup, so I'm excited.
Commanders Seahawks, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of the Washington Commanders right now and their defense, who's the one player that comes to mind?
Probably Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner, the ageless wonder. And Sam, he doesn't move quite as well. It's a little up, a little long.
As we get older, sometimes we take a minute. When it rains,
Sam, I played pickleball the other week and I felt like I, was about to pop my Achilles. So yes, I understand you get a little bit older, longer in the tooth. You don't move around quite as well. Bobby Wagner's still playing professional football at the age of 35, so no shade thrown at him whatsoever.
No.
But I am concerned about the outlook of the Washington Commanders offense being able to have success against the Seattle Seahawks defense, whether or not Jaden Daniels is active in week number 9, which means I think we're going to see a lot of Bobby Wagner on the football field against his former team where he used to be one of the leaders of an all-time defense. Give me solo and assist tackles combined 15 plus, Sam. I think he has a season high. He hasn't hit the 15 threshold yet. If they're going to be on the field early, often, and always, if they can't sustain drives against this stingy Seahawks defense, then we're going to see a lot of Bobby Wagner all over the field against his former team. So give me 15 plus total tackles, which is a very high mark, but
that is very high.
My boy Bobby.
I like that. I think that I love me some defensive parlays too. So I'm here for it. I love it. What is your third and final petty parlay to cap it off?
Yeah, this is really, it's not as much petty, I guess. It's more just the entire city of Buffalo probably wonders what if, Sam, if Dalton Kincaid was able to haul in the final play of their 2024 NFL season against the Kansas City Chiefs, where Josh Allen threw up, somehow got the ball up in the air, and it was right through Dalton Kincaid's arms. Look, the Kansas City offense is humming right now, Sam, and I think that they're going to give this Buffalo defense a ton of issues throughout this contest, which means to me that they are going to have to rely on Josh Allen being special in this contest. And outside of Khalil Shakir, we have not seen much from the passing game of this Bills offense in 2025. But once upon a time, Dalton Kincaid did have a touchdown in 3 of the first 4 games of this season. So off of a stinker last week and 1 catch for 23 yards in a blowout. Give me a big Dalton Kincaid type of contest. I think he has over 50 yards receiving and a touchdown while they try to keep pace with Patrick Mahomes and the red-hot Kansas City offense.
So it's not so much petty, but it sounds like a redemption arc is what we're going for.
So we have pity parlays, we have redemption parlays.
I like it. I hear it. One of the purposes of petty parlays is we're speaking into the script of these players going into these matchups. It's not just about stats. It's about vibes, feelings, drama, and pettiness. So it's about all of these things that go into all of the things that we love about watching sports. It takes all of our emotions, it puts it on the players, and that's where we're taking our bets. I really like this one. I love a redemption arc for Dalton Kincaid, especially the way that we just capped off National Tight Ends Day. I want to see this energy for the tight ends continue to go on, which is why I love that you've got 2 tight end parlays here. You've got one with TJ Hawkinson and one with Dalton Kincaid. I want to keep the good times going. It's been a tough position to watch these players go through this season, and I'd like to see both of these guys end up with a hell of a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a leap of faith that I'm taking in Dalton Kincaid and TJ Hawkinson this week. But, you know, these guys were just a little bit late to the tight end national holiday. So just a little bit late, but they'll deliver for you, as that is the Tater parlay of the day with the 1, 2, 3 leg parlay. Good luck this week, kids.
That was delightful. Tate, thank you so much for that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Sideline Banter. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the Women of Fantasy Football channel so you don't miss a single episode of our show, as well as the rest of the amazing shows that they have for you guys in order to set your lineups, create your rosters, get those wins every single week. We really appreciate you. Please tune in next week for week 10. Where we cover plenty of injuries, news, and help you setting your lineups every single week. Guys, good luck this week, and we will see you next week.